Tonight, on a very special Clone High.
Hello, and welcome to Who Are You? This has been a Babylon 5 podcast hosted by two people who met on the internet haphazardly on a Facebook group, decided to host a podcast together, and have become friends over the course of that podcast, talking about a show that's very important to them from their childhood, Babylon 5. I'm Xhafer.
And I'm Laura.
And I guess the last time I was going to say that normally was actually an episode or two ago.
Yeah. Did you realize it then?
No.
Yeah.
No, I did not. I thought I was going to do a normal one, and then I was here in the moment, and I did a thing.
Yeah.
Close enough, though. Yeah, we're here. This is episode 150.
Mm-hmm. You carefully crafted and designed our schedule.
Yes, 100%. The schedule was geared towards our last episode of Babylon 5 being number 150. It will not work out that way for Battlestar Galactica.
Well, you take them when you can get them.
Yeah. It's fun. It was a thing. It's the kind of thing where I looked at it and I went, I think we're close enough where we can make this happen. Originally, we were going to do Lost Tales. Even I think I thought it was still 3 parts at one point, and I had Lost Tales 1, 2, 3 in there to make it 150. We added movie breaks. We did a bunch of stuff to kind of get us to this point. And part of that was because 150 is a nice big number, and part of that is kind of delaying it a bit. This is sad. I mean, we obviously at this point we are friends
for sure.
If
you're one of my best friends, yeah,
you're one of my best friends too. We talk a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We talk a lot on pod, and we talk in very careful conversations because we know there's a bunch of strangers on the internet listening. But we also talk outside of pod, which was something when we first started this podcast, something I was very wary about. Not because I didn't want to talk to you, but because I thought part of the reason to listen to this podcast was the novelty of getting to hear two strangers get to know each other. And I was just like, oh, what if I learn something really cool about Laura, or we find out we have something in common off pod?
Right. Then are you keeping something from the listener? Have you destroyed your own premise? Yeah.
Is that a tragedy in a weird little way? Like, is that a sadness to not have that moment be a genuine thing that was recorded? Because as much as like, let's talk about art, right? And I've been thinking a lot about this last couple of days because of that podcast I just listened to about the guy who listened to
the one about Fight Club.
Because here's the thing is there's like different types of movies, right? Like there's feel good movies that you watch to just be entertained. Sure. There's movies that you watch that are art, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that makes those movies different is the emotional space and the experiential space, right? And that podcast was an experience. And I think, man, it must be so cool because podcasting is very unique in that it's a lot like painting. And like there are famous painters where you can see their stuff everywhere, but there are a million painters on earth doing art that you'll never see.
Yeah.
And podcasting is a lot like that. There's a million podcasts that you're never going to listen to. You know, the best podcast on earth statistically has less than 100 listens, you know?
Yeah.
It's that kind of nuance. And I think we did something fun and new and interesting in the space, despite us being a show about 90s sci-fi.
Yeah. Which those are quite common these days.
Yeah. There's a million 90s sci-fi podcasts. There's a couple dozen Babylon 5 podcasts.
Yeah.
And I enjoy them. And a handful of them are doing novel, fun things too. both Grey 17 and Babylon 5 for the first time, having people watch this classic, iconic show that's so foundationally important to the history of television for the first time is really interesting. And that's what they did.
Mhm.
And that's what makes them unique and novel. What we did was our new experience, our first time was not with the show, but in getting to know each other,
Yeah. Flip
which
the
is
script a little
cool.
bit. Mhm.
Yeah. I think we did something fun and interesting. And you, like I said, you're one of my best friends. I really appreciate everything that you and all of our group that we've kind of got going these days bring into my life.
Mhm.
I think
Same.
having to sit down and have a conversation, especially in the beginning with a complete stranger, so regularly forces introspection and growth in a way that is very unique. And I don't want to say difficult because it never felt hard, but
Yeah. I mean, there are moments that are hard when you're confronting something different that
yeah.
than you have before.
And also, it's like a stability thing. We don't have like a set recording time every week. I think
Uh-huh.
regular listeners to the podcast would know that. We make comments about, oh, we're recording at a weird time for us, stuff like that.
Yeah, we're so
But
behind, we had to record something, that sort of thing, yeah.
yeah, but also like we've been through some shit personally. And a lot of it has not made it to the podcast.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
some of the early stuff especially, I think.
yeah, and I'm not expecting you to talk about anything you don't want to talk about right now. That's not I'm not interested in that. I mean, I think eagle-eyed listeners, I went
Uh-huh.
through a divorce in the first couple months of this podcast.
Yeah.
It was a very weird, difficult time of my life, and
Mhm.
I was not a happy person for a lot of the first couple of months of doing this at the very least. I even mentioned, like, I went back and listened to our first episode a couple weeks ago to kind of prep for this. I
Oh,
even said the words "my wife" in that episode, and I was just
yeah.
like my heart sank for a minute because it was so
Aw.
jarring for me to use that word at that time and
Uh-huh.
think about everything that I've been through. And I'm very happy now, to be absolutely clear.
Mhm.
I did a lot of therapy. I know I make the joke often, men would rather. I've done a lot of self-searching. I'm in a long-term, happy, committed relationship with my partner, Beth, who has become part of this podcasting family as well, which is also
Yeah,
so cool.
it is so cool. She's
Um,
great. We love you, Beth.
she is great. I do love her. I told her that I loved her and gave her a big kiss on the forehead, like, right before we started recording.
Mhm.
Um, because just personally, I'm in a lot better space now.
Mhm.
And I don't know that I'll ever be able to go back and listen entirely to that first
Yeah.
season.
I feel the same way, like, I don't remember where it had occurred in time, and we
Mhm.
mentioned it to the listeners, I believe, that early in our show, I had a pregnancy loss,
Yeah.
and I couldn't tell you what those episodes around then were about. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like, that is and that too is when Aaron took over a lot of the edit. He took over
Mhm.
what was gonna be my job to edit completely because I had
Yeah.
fallen apart a little bit, but I don't think it made to the pod either. That was actually when I had started pursuing maybe going back for my PhD,
Mhm.
was right before that, and so I had a lot of, like, horrific guilt feelings about, like, I had found out that I was unexpectedly pregnant. I thought I was gonna go start this PhD program. I knew I couldn't, and then I lost the pregnancy, and that's
Yeah.
that's a lot of weird things to grapple with, and guilt about feeling like I wasn't excited about this, and then I lost it. And it was a lot to confront, and
Yeah.
I don't know that I was my best podcaster self then. I don't know if
I'm
I was good friends and good to listen to.
I mean, it takes time to heal and takes time to process things and to understand, and a podcasting schedule is not something that really allows time, you
Mhm.
know?
Yep.
Um, we've been very, very regular. Have we missed an episode?
I don't think we've missed an episode. We've had some that maybe came out with, like, not our favorite edits, but
Yeah. There were a couple rushed ones for sure here and there.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, that's a monument. I think honestly, all the stuff going on in our lives is the reason why we take a couple weeks off in between seasons
Mhm.
because we just needed time.
Yeah.
And that started as that, and it turned into something that I kind of really like because it's not, I miss our conversations when
Yeah,
we don't
for
have
sure.
them. And that's something that kind of forces that in. And it forces me to come back with a little bit of a refreshed energy to want to do what we're doing.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so there's
It's
that.
a breather. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes I need a moment to take a break from the schedule of, need to watch episode, need to make notes on episode, need to find time to sit down
Mhm.
and have the conversation about the episode. Um, I always feel fresh when we come back from a break. Like, you just had a big, long vacation,
Yeah.
and I was so excited to to sit back down and do this because
Same. Yeah.
I'd had a few weeks, and I was like, "Man, I miss my friends.
Yeah.
Just wanna
I
talk to
felt the
my
same way.
friends."
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. It was such an important and stable part of my life in a time where nothing was important and nothing was
Yes.
stable.
Mhm. And
And
for
for
me
that,
right now
oh
sorry.
yeah. Oh no, no. I mean, no, it's the same thing now because
Yeah.
life is difficult right now. It's a whole transition for you in
Mhm.
your life. Like I'm telling you about these things.
Yeah. No, 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 it's I mean, I like everyone at the university. Like,
Mhm.
I feel very blessed that the PhD students are very collegial. None of the faculty seem to have, like, secret wars with each other or anything. I mean, I suppose that I might find something out eventually, but I feel like those things come to a forefront pretty quickly usually. And, they're all great people to hang with, um, but it's so much change. It's
Yeah.
such a big place compared to kind of what I'm used to in my mind, and some days I just feel very lost and adrift, and, it's not like when you're at the PhD level problems of like, "Oh, I can't make this thing work." Like, you can go to your professor, but they don't necessarily have the answer.
Yeah.
They can point you like, "Well, maybe you need to try this, or maybe we can figure this out together," but they don't know it. There's nobody who has the answers anymore. So I feel like I'm just this little thing floating along in the breeze trying to figure out where I'm going.
Mhm.
And if at least, every week or so, I'm sitting down, I know I have this show I'm gonna watch, and I'm gonna talk to my friends about it, and
Yeah.
I have that anchor in the
Right.
the wind.
It's so important. Um, I I know I would have been okay without this podcast, but I
Yeah,
think this
yeah.
podcast helped me heal very personally, and I don't know how privately, it's hard to say, it's recorded. Like, someone could listen and go
Yeah.
tell me, especially with the benefit of retrospect, but how much this podcast how important this has been into keeping me a stable person and in
Mhm.
turn a happy person. So
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for posting on Facebook 3.5 years ago saying you had lost the original partner of this podcast and you wanted to do Babylon 5.
Yeah.
And we said it a number of times, but Ben, thank you for seeing that, going, "Oh, hey, Jafar's watching Babylon 5 right now,"
Yeah.
commenting and tagging me, because without that, we wouldn't have started this. And without
Mhm.
starting this, my life is different in ways
Yeah.
that I don't really care to think about because
Yeah.
it's not as good.
I mean, we've grown, both of us, our friend sets. Some of them I have absorbed your friends, and some of them we've just made random friends together.
Yeah.
But, well, and you've absorbed some of my friends, at least my husband, right? So,
Yeah.
it's
But Jeremy too. I've had
that's
actual
true.
conversations with him at some point. He was more definitely you're the one who brought him onto this, we had
That's
met on a
true. He's
we'd
in the same, like,
bit.
sort of sci-fi circle friend set, but we had a
Mhm.
different, like, yeah, I get that. Um, it's really enriched my life.
Yeah,
There's
same.
people all over the country now that I talk to, and I feel like we're good friends. Even
Yeah.
if we haven't met each other in person, you and I have met in person now,
Yeah.
and several of your friends, and of course, we met Victor from Dominion Media and Television at
I have not met Victor in person.
Oh, that's
You have
right,
met
I met
Victor in
him.
person. Yeah, which
I
is
I
crazy.
forgot because we were both at that Star Trek Las Vegas, right?
Yeah, I just didn't
Yeah,
see him. Yeah,
that's crazy. But, I mean, we will see him in person again soon, for
yeah,
sure, and I it's so strange that, when our parents were this age, it wasn't as easy to have these kind of friendships all across the country. Like, you had to be in the same physical space
yeah,
at some point to develop something and then maintain it,
yeah.
and we went a
Internet
whole
friends don't exist for them. Yeah,
yeah, we went, like, a whole year being friends before we met in person.
more than, I wanna
More
say.
than but probably, I don't know.
Well, we started so I know we like, a couple weeks ago was the anniversary of the release of the podcast, right?
Yeah,
And
okay.
we had started recording months in advance.
That's true, yeah, that's right.
And I think our first conversation would have been in April of 2021,
Yeah, okay.
and we didn't meet
Mhm.
until August 2022
Yeah, you're correct.
when I was walking. Beth and I were at
Yeah.
STLV, we had gotten our badges, and you were in line, and I walked past you, and I'm all like, "I think that was Laura."
You were right, yeah. Yeah.
And Beth's all like, "Then turn around and go say hi, dummy."
Yeah, I was just, like, making friends with random strangers in line because my husband wasn't flying out for another day, and so I was
Yeah.
just waiting in line by myself talking to some guy.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's crazy. It's
it was
all crazy.
crazy. And
Y
then
y
you brought a whole bunch of people from Detroit this last year, and I got to
That
make
was
even
yeah.
more in-person friends.
Yeah, you've met
Uh,
my sister,
I've met your sister. Yeah.
right? I would not have put money on that ever happening.
I didn't
Even
get to see her very much because I think they got sick, right?
she got COVID, so she spent
Yeah.
most of STLV in her hotel room,
Yeah.
and
But
then her boyfriend was fine and testing negative and was wearing a mask around and being very careful and not hanging out with people,
yeah, yeah,
but was at least trying to enjoy his time off a little bit in as safe and reasonably as he could.
yeah. It's just crazy that we
Yeah,
pulled this off.
right? It doesn't feel real sometimes.
Mhm. It doesn't
Um,
feel real. And I think, gosh, was it prompted by the anniversary the other day that Victor said some very nice things on the Discord?
I think it was prompted by a bit on LTO that was not recorded,
Oh,
or
okay, okay.
when we were talking about stuff beforehand, just about like the crazy happenstance of everything. Because if you hadn't recognized his Car Talk with Martok shirt,
Uh-huh.
he would not be podcasting with us right now. It's like a very clear domino effect to like bring him into LTO.
Yeah,
Uh, and that's the first domino is you turning around and going, wait, Car Talk with Martok? I'd
yeah.
follow that guy on Facebook. And
Uh-huh.
I don't even think you knew it was him
No,
so
I
much
just
as
thought
you're
maybe it
like,
was a guy with a Car Talk with Martok shirt, and then it was actually Victor.
yeah. It's so
Yeah,
funny. Ben's been following, I think I've told this to Vic at some point. Ben's been following Dominion Meeting Television on Facebook since like 2019.
yeah, yeah.
Like he was like one of the ground level like meme purveyors of Dominion Media Television. Back when it first was getting started, he
Yeah.
happened upon it and he introduced me to it. And it's just like it's crazy how like it went from a guy whose memes you were laughing at to someone you have a group chat with and regularly interact with.
Uh-huh. It is so weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the
It is.
internet. It's crazy. Just like you're exactly right to talk about our parents' generation in it. Like, when I
Mhm,
think about my dad's friends, they were like his frat brothers, right?
mhm.
And that was
Yeah.
just like his friend group. That was he had met the people he was gonna meet,
Yep.
he had made friends with them, and he was good with that.
Yep.
And living such a different life.
Yeah. I'm happy to make jokes with an internet stranger and then just be like, "And you're my friend now." Like,
Yeah, right?
"We're friends, right? Yeah? Cool, cool."
100%. Yeah, it's so cool. And, I mean, I've known Ben a very long time at this point to bring, you know, him in to introduce you guys, Glorianne and Beth and the whole crew.
Mhm.
Just to name drop everyone. It's like it's so cool. It's so God, I feel like I'm spending a lot of time tooting our own horn about how great everything is for us. Um,
I
but it's
mean,
all
it's
it exists. It's this thing. It's a community. And it's not just like the people that I personally know. Like if we were to ever roll into a live show town and God, fucking, I don't even want to think about that. That's so much fucking work. Logistics is a fucking nightmare.
Mhm.
But like if there was ever a situation where I were to run into someone who is a listener of the podcast from Discord and they'd be like, "Oh, hey, I would lose my fucking mind."
Me too.
That would be the best thing that happened to me that day,
Mhm.
regardless of anything else.
Yep.
Probably there might be one or two things, but
Yeah.
like,
I'm not sure what it says about me, but I would immediately consider you my bestie. I would be like, "Oh my
oh,
god, we're
oh, we're
friends."
hugging. I'm a
Yeah.
hugger, 100%.
Exactly.
Feel like it's so nice to actually meet you in person. It's
Uh-huh.
crazy. And it's just like, I would not know your real name.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And you would know my voice, even though we have never spoken.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's gotta be fucking weird.
It's
I
the
feel like
parasocials, they call it, I think.
yeah, and I mean, we've gotten to chat with Adam and Ben of Greatest Generation,
Mhm.
and it's I think about their relationship with their podcasting audience being a member of that podcasting audience, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And, like, interacting with them on a more personal level and having actual conversations with them and stuff, and then, like, I think about that for me, and
Yeah.
it's weird, and and then I think about their interaction, especially early interactions with me, and it's exactly the same, and I
Is it?
know that, like, the way they feel about me is the way I just, like, "I'm so grateful you're here, it's so nice to finally meet you," but also, like, our relationship has been entirely one-sided for you, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have interacted with me for hours of listening, and
Mhm.
I am having my first conversation with you right now,
Yeah.
and that's a very weird, liminal kind of headspace.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah. So I guess I appreciate them more, but
I
also
do
I don't
too.
wanna talk to them anymore because
Yeah.
I
I don't wanna be a
understand
burden to them. I don't wanna,
exactly.
like, you don't need to remember me. Like, you've got
Yeah,
all these other things you gotta do and people you gotta charm. Like, I'm charmed. You can go on. Like
yeah. You've done your time, you've paid your penance for my
Yeah.
listenership,
Yeah.
more than once over by
Mhm.
agreeing to give us a bump. Speaking of which, this is the worst segue I've ever done. I was looking at the analytics of our
Okay.
episodes because I was curious.
Mhm.
Um, do you wanna take a guess for what our highest listened episode is outside of the pilot, which is always going to be the most listened to episode?
It's gotta be The Fugitive with Adam Pranica, right?
100% it is.
Mhm.
Do you wanna guess by a percentage how much more popular that episode is than the one we did with Ben?
Oh, no. Oh,
I was
no.
shocked, and it's probably
Percentage.
just because the subject matter, but
Yeah.
it's a disparity.
Um, well, and Adam also got the benefit of the novelty of it, of he was our first of the Greatest Generation.
Yeah.
So,
I know they're never gonna listen to this
yeah.
because this would probably be a fight for not a fight, but I could see them talking, like, a little joking back and forth about
Yeah.
this.
Jokey jokes,
Yeah.
digs at each other. Um, 50%?
It's not that much,
Okay.
but it
Uh,
is, like, 35.
okay, the 30 was the next number
Yeah.
I was going with. Wow, okay.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I know we don't talk about, like, listenership statistics at any point either on the pod,
Yeah, I
but
don't need that.
but,
You can share now. You can
yeah, I
share.
mean, we just hit a big milestone. We just hit
Mhm.
40,000 total listens, which is
Yeah,
insane.
that is insane. I'm trying to put it into, like, okay, that's like 4 Tahlequahs at the time I grew up there. Like, people. If you talk people,
Right?
but they're not individual people, those are listens. Okay. Yeah, that's really neat.
Yeah, like, if each one of those is an hour, right? each listen for easy math. And we were to equate that with people watching Babylon 5. People have listened to our podcast for the equivalent of 307 complete watch throughs of Babylon,
Babylon
5.
5. Oh man, I hope that's true. I hope that there are 307 people out there that did a complete watch through with us. That would be fun.
So, yeah.
Also a nice little boost on the streamings.
Yeah. Good for Babylon 5.
Mm-hmm.
We should probably talk about it a little bit, the show itself.
Oh yeah, we haven't done that. We've been talking for like 20 minutes and haven't talked about Babylon 5.
Well, that's because as much as the podcast is about Babylon 5, the podcast is
It's also not.
Babylon
Yeah.
5. Before we do that, we did not really ask for letters. I don't think in a time frame.
Yeah.
I got a couple of quick little messages from people on Discord. But I've got one that I want to read.
Okay.
And it's from our editor, Aaron. He sent this in to me. I have not read this yet.
Okay.
So I'm going to read it aloud for the first time. So when I trip over my words, my bad.
Just retake it.
Yeah. Hey there, editor Aaron here. Longtime listener, first time caller. Normally I prefer to work behind the scenes, but I'm finally writing in based on a prompt Laura gave at the end of season 5 recap to share what watching Babylon 5 for the first time meant to me. She probably doesn't remember saying this.
No, I do.
As crazy as it sounds to be the editor of a Babylon 5 podcast, I had never actually gotten past Soul Hunters prior to starting Laura's rewatch for this podcast. I knew it was one of Laura's favorite shows, and I'd even bought her some of the DVDs one Christmas early in our relationship, but we had never made time to sit down and watch. When Laura brought up the idea of doing a Babylon 5 podcast, I was admittedly a bit skeptical. Would there be an audience? Would anyone care? Ultimately, Laura and I agreed early on that we wouldn't host together due to the demands of raising a family. Side note, yeah, that would be insane.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
No.
I guess people do it, but I don't know how they do it. So
yeah. Back to Aaron. Nonetheless, I was looking forward to finally sitting down together to watch the show that had made a big enough impact on her to make her want to go through this whole podcast thing. Little did I know how deep my involvement would get. Initially, I was not even going to edit the show at all, but the reality of Laura and Xhafer's schedules meant that if the podcast was going to continue and thrive, an extra set of hands and ears were going to be needed. I could tell how important the show was to Laura, and I wanted to help where I could to make sure it would happen and be the best it could be. And with that, I started my complete Babylon 5 watch through, editing a podcast for a show I had never seen, while still somehow managing to avoid major spoilers. Side note again, Aaron, if I forced you to have spoilers by putting in spoiler warnings that you then had to listen to, I'm so sorry.
Oh, those don't count.
Those don't count. Back to Aaron. When watching Babylon 5 for the first time means to me is almost impossible to put into words. Of course, it is a great show on its own merits, and Laura and Xhafer have spent 150 episodes expanding on that far better than I could. Seriously, you should go listen. For me, it was so much more. Not only was it a way to spend quality time with Laura, sharing an important part of her life, but also a new creative outlet for me. The years, yes, years, I have worked on this show have encompassed some of the highest highs and lowest lows of a person's life. A global pandemic, the birth of a child, the death of a parent, making new friends, all the ebbs and flows of a life lived. All of these moments are forever entwined with Babylon 5, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Thank you to Xhafer for your dedication, for trusting me to handle edit full time, and for all the drop callouts. Thank you to Laura for your determination to make the show happen, your grace when there was a late night edit, and for sharing this part of your life with me. And to you both, congratulations on creating 150 episodes of this show. It is no small feat to get this far, and it is absolutely a testament to your hard work and dedication. So here's to you, to Babylon 5, to 150 episodes, and hopefully many more. Thanks for letting me play a part. All the best, Aaron. I knew we were going to cry this up.
I feel so embarrassed because we have the easy job, you and me.
For sure.
His job is the hard job.
His job is 100% the hard job.
Yeah.
It's one thing to sit here and just bullshit off the cuff. It's another to have to make that intelligible. and we don't make it easy. Oh, well, thank
I
you, Aaron, and thank you. I know we thank you at the
yeah.
end of every episode, but I mean, this is for you. I guess you could. This doesn't have to stay on the pod. That's your call. But you're just as much. You're the most important part of this
Mhm.
in a lot of very real, tangible ways. Because this podcast wouldn't have made it 150 episodes without you.
Yeah. It probably
Um,
would've like slowed down. We wouldn't have been able to claim that we never missed an
no,
episode,
for sure we would
like,
have
for
missed
sure.
episodes. We probably would have dropped every other week. I don't know that we would have hit an ending, and that slowing of momentum, I don't think allows us to do the other stuff, which
Mhm.
is also important and enriching the general. I don't think if I had to edit Who Are You every other week that I would be doing Last Time On right now.
Yeah.
And I really like Last Time On.
Mhm.
And I like that it affords me a chance to hang out with my buds even more a week.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah.
We I don't wanna turn this into sappy, like, love letters from husband to wife and wife to husband, but, um, I there's so much I learned in the last few years. Um, Part of watching this show again was, like, grappling with how I saw the world as a child and how I see the world now,
Oh fuck. Yeah, that's
and
a real thing.
yeah, um, I had the Sheridan stepdad. I've bought it all hook, line, and sinker.
Mhm.
Sheridan was the best and the hero, and coming back and rewatching the show, I've have a lot more nuance about the roles of men in the
Yeah.
world and how much damage they have actually done to me personally. Uh, and, um, I don't know, I just Aaron's had to sit in the front row seat for a confronting of a lot of that,
Yeah.
and I appreciate that he has always handled it with respect and nuance because I do tend sometimes to just, like, throw everything out, if there's one bad piece in it, I'm like, "Well, this is
Oh,
all
yeah.
bad."
There's a
But
lot
black or
on the
white.
cutting room floor from those episodes we edited that
Yeah.
Aaron kept in, and the podcast is better for it.
Mhm. I tend to think very black and white about stuff, and I get that partly from my upbringing, probably partly from my neurology, like, the brain meets, and he's always been a presence of, like, "Well, is it all bad, though?" "Do we have to throw all of that out?" That there is more flexibility in life than I ever imagined, and I don't know where it all came from. I think some of it comes from watching shows like Babylon 5 when you had the clear, like, good and evil sort of
Mhm.
almost. Like, if you read it just on surface level, shadows and Vorlons, dark and light, like,
Yeah.
and that's the level you get when you're a child. Like,
Mhm.
you don't you might be developing those critical thinking skills, but you don't have them yet.
Yeah.
And I feel like my world was built a lot on that sort of framing of this is black or it's white, it's this or it's that. And the first person in my life that made me realize I didn't have to think that way and I could be flexible and I could, if I was going to be 5 minutes late to something, it didn't mean I shouldn't go. Like,
Mhm.
is Aaron, and he's kept this thing afloat by reminding me, like, if you miss a week of recording, it's not all over.
Yeah.
You just get back on the horse.
Yeah.
I think that's so what do you feel like the biggest journey with the show material has been for you?
Um, I have I think I've talked about this a little bit that, Garibaldi reminds me a lot about my dad.
Yes, we have talked about that.
in a lot of ways. And some of that is like as a character. And when I was a kid, for sure, Garibaldi was my favorite.
Mhm.
I had lots of like Lego space dudes, and my favorite was Garibaldi. I named him Garibaldi, and I would play the little Lego games with him and stuff, you know. And a lot of that was because I saw so much of my father, and as a child, I saw so much of my father in Garibaldi, and in that very limited scope of you have to view like viewing the show as a child and viewing the show as an adult are very, very different experiences with very, very different stories being told.
Mhm.
Exactly because it's that black and white when you're a kid, because that's what your little puddle of a binary brain can process. And then as you understand nuance and you understand the Vorlons are actually the bad guys
Mhm.
in a lot of ways, and that it's not a show about good versus evil, it's a show of being able to break free of all of those cycles to find a path forward and freedom in a very
Mhm.
real way. Um, and I got completely off topic there, but my relationship with Garibaldi on this rewatch and seeing the not so great aspects of him as a character, and we
Yeah.
make jokes about, you know, homeschool, security school and stuff, but there's a lot of stuff with him that's not good. And it's a lot of the stuff that as an adult I had to wrestle with of recognizing in my father as well.
Mhm.
And I wonder how much of that was maybe comprehended in the background by my little puddle of a brain, or if it's just a coincidence that there's so
Well,
much overlap between them as a character and as a person in lots of weird ways. If I'm just reaching for anything that connects me to him because he's been dead for 4 years now,
yeah.
you know, there's a lot of that there, and that's a lot to deal with and unpack. And that was one of the big things for me in the rewatch, and the difference between viewing it as a child and adult. And then the one that I know hits us both super heavy, and the election is next week, um, is
Yeah.
the descent into fascism.
Mhm.
And that's the stuff that as a kid, you're like, "Oh, yeah, wait, those humans are the bad guys? I guess, okay, whatever." You know, like, and you kinda just gloss like, I didn't really know what was going on until I did my rewatch. Um,
Mhm.
and I mean, when we started this, I was wrapping a rewatch.
Mhm.
Like, I had just finished going through in my personal time during COVID and rewatching the entire show. Um,
Yeah,
and
as one
so
does during a pandemic,
yeah.
rewatch an entire show.
I mean, I got COVID and watched the entirety of The Office in, like, 2 weeks. All I did was watch The Office, and I remember nothing, and that was my first viewing of The Office, and I still hate it.
Yeah.
Has its moments. Anyways, it's just, like, dealing with that in 2020, like, just coming off of a Trump presidency and now here on the precipice.
No, don't say it.
Um, well, okay, so, I mean, real talk, to be perfectly honest, I'm not terribly concerned about the results because I don't think this country is about to fall into fascism. And I mean, I saw someone else and they meant this in a pro-Trump manner, uh, but it was kind of reassuring in a way of democracy holds, where it's just like, hey, you know, right now to be the most authoritarian president in history, you have to win 4 elections, in turn an entire population, and, you know, do a couple other things that FDR did that were not particularly great. And I saw someone posting that in reference to like Trump's not that bad, guys.
Yeah.
Uh, and you know, the dirty Democrats are just the worst always because that's, you know, it's the cult there is just so astonishingly brainwashed. Not to say that no, there's not any brainwashed Democrats, but it's a whole thing. And that to give me a little bit of hope, where it's just all like, you know, this country has survived a lot of bullshit. Um, so my main concern is 4 years of more Republicans on the Supreme Court.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
the
that's the
concern.
worst thing to come out of a Trump presidency, because that's the kind of long-lasting damage that will take 30 or 40 years to even begin to start to correct, and the court has already shown that they are just completely worthless at this point.
Yeah.
Um, So,
Yeah.
it would it
Uh,
be an episode of this podcast if I didn't go on a leftist rant?
yeah, that's tradition, as is tradition.
Mhm.
I think the biggest growth I had already I've talked about was seeing that things aren't as easy as they look. It's not all tied up in a bow like you think. I wish I could remember who I said was my favorite character. Did I say Londo?
I think you did.
Yeah. I still find him the most interesting, I think.
Okay.
He is very tragic.
Yes.
And, you make your choices and you lay in it. But Londo in particular, it feels very sad because he starts as, the clown. And he's doing the clown bit because he is terribly hurt by his irrelevance.
Hmm.
And seeking that relevance just ruins it. Ruins a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah, I think I have a lot of fond memories of Londo,
Mhm.
and the Londo Jakar mess arounds of season 5
Are fun.
are fun, and I thought that was so much more of the show than it is.
Yeah, it's weird, right? I
Mhm.
I thought a lot of those goofums happened in earlier parts of the show, but they were
Mhm.
actually busy hating each other and being at
For
each
so
other's
much.
throats.
Yeah.
And that relationship between those 2 actors,
Yeah.
you just can't compare that to anything. Like, it was outstanding. You wish that we had Andreas for a few more years.
Yeah.
Do you think that the show might have gotten some more substantial movies, reboots, if we'd had some of our actors a few more years?
No, because I
Mm,
don't think the problem was the cast.
mm,
I think the problem in a lot of it is okay, so much of this is, like, painted by JMS's relationship with the studios,
yeah. Mhm.
right? And that is not a good relationship from
Yeah.
either side. And so much of, like, going back and reading Usenet stuff on the Lost Tales taking forever, um, fucking Road Home has been out for over a year at this point.
Mhm. Yeah.
And when it was launched, it was all like, "Hey, if the DVD sales do great, then there's gonna be more announced real soon. We've already got all these art assets built and all this stuff." And when I was doing research for Lost Tales, I saw almost the exact same verbatim post from him from 2009 about Lost Tales or
Oh.
2008, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And then I even saw a follow-up talking about how great the sales were for Lost Tales, how it did much better than expected, all this stuff.
I was one of
Beat
those who
budget.
bought it. Yeah.
Yeah. And we heard the same thing about Road Home, and it's been absolute silence. And I know JMS is not the person who promises things before they happen,
Mhm.
right? He's gotten in trouble in that in the past. But it's just like, is it that it's doing great and did great and that there's this relationship with the studio where you led along with the carrot and stick for like the 20th time of your career, in which case I'm so sorry. Um, is it that the studios want more Babylon 5, but they don't want to work with you
I don't know.
because you're notoriously difficult about some of this shit?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm just like, I don't know where it is. And I know that like if Joe were to walk in my front door right now, right? It's not even something I would ask him about
Yeah.
because I know that one, he won't say anything until it's for certain, and I respect that, to be absolutely clear. That's a good stance to take when you're dealing with crazies on the internet, and if anyone's done enough of that in their life, it's him.
Oh, for
He
sure.
was the pioneer of creators dealing with fans on the internet. And
Mhm.
so if he's apprehensive about saying things before they happen, that comes solely from experience of dealing with overzealous fans like me.
Mhm.
So I can't throw shade at that. I respect it. Even if I hate it, I respect it. Uh, but it's also just like, I don't know what I'd want.
Mhm.
Like if Babylon 5 reboot got picked up by what's a best case scenario? HBO.
HBO, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, tomorrow. And they announce it's exactly his vision and it's going to be 26 episode seasons and they're going to have $2 million budgets for every episode and every surviving cast member has agreed to come back on an auxiliary role and they're going to do new cast for the main actor for all the roles but like Sheridan's going to be fucking Kosh or whatever,
Mhm.
right? They got Bruce's Kosh, whatever, it fucking doesn't matter, right? Um like that is as ideal as it can get. I don't know how excited I would truly be.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a like it's unbound and unmeasurable. I mean, I'm going to have to approach it with a level of apprehensiveness and wait and see that I don't know that I would be capable of enjoying it until we're 3 seasons in.
Yeah.
Because I'd just be waiting for even if it's perfect, if it's fucking flawless and it's just better than I could possibly imagine because I trust him to make a better show than I can. He does it professionally. I just talk about shit on the internet.
Mhm.
I don't know how excited I would be, truly. I don't think I would be. I think I'd
Yeah.
be worried and apprehensive the entire time until it was done.
Well,
And
they're
then I'd be
just
worried. And even if it is perfect and we get 5 seasons and it's fucking glorious, I'd be worried and apprehensive that there's going to be another fucking Lost Tales or another fucking Legend of the Rangers that comes and shits on the legacy of the great thing he made.
Yeah. And well, we live in the post Game of Thrones world, right? Where
Yeah.
people were so hype for Game of
Oh, yeah.
Thrones. And then because of a difficult creator not finishing his work, it declined in quality quite seriously in its seasons that went beyond the original material.
Mhm.
And I think that that sort of audience would translate over and they would probably find something to dislike about every episode.
Oh, yeah. Ivanova's too strong of a female character, guys. Gotta review bomb this. And that's not even actual people. That's probably just fucking bots.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, it's
and
just I don't think the show can exist and tell the story that it told in a meaningful way in society right now. And that fucking sucks.
society right now is very hard. I mean, I feel like I've been grappling with this just a little bit in my new work in that,
Mhm.
man, things are kinda getting out of our control.
Yeah.
And, I mean, maybe that's not accurate. Maybe all we ever had was an illusion of control to begin with. And now because of the scale and speed that things move, especially information is the big problem right now. Not good information. Good information should be everywhere all at once, right? But
Mhm.
there's so much of it that's bad
Yeah.
because it's been manipulated by someone or because it's trying to manipulate you, and I
Yeah.
don't know how we get around this.
I forget if I went on this rant on this podcast or LTO, but the media is not invested in telling you the truth. The media is invested in keeping you entertained and engaged.
Um, mhm.
And go check out Ground News.
Yes, we had that on this
That
podcast.
was this pod? Cool.
That was this podcast.
I I am always worried I'm going to offend you by not being able to remember what conversation I had was.
Please. I can't remember who I told what when, and I know I repeat myself to a lot of people, and I'm super embarrassed about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, listener, I don't know what you were expecting this episode, but you probably got something that you weren't out of our conversation so far.
Yeah, we didn't, recap much show. We just
No. Well, we've done that for 150 hours. If you want to know how I felt
Mhm.
about an episode, go listen to my review of that episode. I'll
Yeah.
probably feel differently the next time I watch it. Human
We
beings, we
yeah,
change and we grow.
so wild.
Right.
It meant a lot to us. I think it still means a lot to us, and it will
Yeah.
probably continue to mean a lot to us. So that's our whole deal, and
Yeah.
we're glad that you came along.
I really look forward, like, Beth doesn't listen to this podcast, right? So I can say a thing right now.
Oh, okay.
And then it's not like a surprise or news or anything, but she tried to watch the first season of Babylon 5. She got through most of it. She really liked the first season. She
Mhm.
turned on the first episode of the second season, hated Sheridan immediately. wanted Sinclair back, and never picked it up again. In like 3 years, after enough time has passed, I know I'm going to be able to like get her to start again.
Uh-huh.
And I am looking forward to being on the Laura side of the Laura Aaron coin and watching that with her
Yeah.
as she gets to experience it for the first time.
Mhm.
But I would not
I'm
recommend
excited
doing
for
it
you.
now because I think things are a little too real with the fascism.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
I would like that to improve just a skosh.
oh, that'd be great.
Just a skosh.
If we could just suddenly take the lead out of everyone's blood and brain
Uh-huh.
that's poisoned so many people
Yeah.
and start there and then move into reinstating. Honestly, like I think about what I would do, like Xhafer president. I'm like,
Mhm.
fuck, immediately fuck. I'm so fucked.
Oh no. Oh no.
Decided this was a terrible idea. Whoever decided this, bad call.
Mhm.
But we're stuck with it now. The first thing I'd do, like, you can't call yourself news unless you present both sides of a story. You have to call yourself entertainment. You can't call yourself the news.
Hmm.
I think that's where it has to start.
Yeah.
I think we have to take our media back. And if that's investing a bunch of money in PBS, which I don't like the idea of like a government run news station.
Right. That has its own problems, doesn't
It has
it?
its own problems for sure. But it's either that or break up a bunch of these news megacorps and not let them call themselves news. I think you have to start there. You have to start with getting trust and information back
Mhm.
into people's brains. You have to start with critical thinking. You have to start with every side has more than one thing going on. The truth is a three-edged sword.
Hell yeah. Good pull. Some smart guy said that, right?
Yeah, totally. I see it on LinkedIn all the time.
Yeah, me too.
Well, we've talked a lot about the past.
Yeah.
Do we want
I
to
guess
talk a
it's
little bit
time.
about the future?
Yeah, I guess it's time to look forward to something.
Yeah.
I'm a little
Um,
scared, to be honest.
Scared of the election being next week or scared of Battlestar
Oh, well,
Galactica?
I mean, that's without a given. I'm a little scared of Battlestar Galactica. Um,
I know that this comes out like after the results will be
I
posted,
know we're gonna
and I hope
already.
I hope I still have hope in my voice when you're
Yeah,
listening to this episode. Like if you listen to this episode and see me in person, I hope that I have hope in my voice when you talk to me when this episode airs.
I just if we're hosting every episode of Battlestar Galactica like totally drunk, you know why. You know why,
Yeah,
listener.
you know what happened. Well, you're living through what happened.
I mean, I hear that Battlestar Galactica, I have this, like, vision of it in my head because I've
Mhm.
never seen any of it, but, I've absorbed some of the zeitgeist,
Yeah,
as being rather dark. So
it is. Um, it's dark. The ending is rough. It is not sleeping in light.
oh,
I'll just get that out of the way right now.
mhm.
It takes a turn in the 4th season, and there's actually a lot of stuff. It this weekend, as we're recording this, was the 20th anniversary of the show airing
Wow.
initially.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, we're just like we started our Babylon 5 watch right around the anniversary of the show. We are starting a Battlestar watch right around the anniversary of the show.
Yeah.
I thought about cutting the episode count to get us to launch on the anniversary.
Yeah. No, but
Like it
the
was
round number is just too delicious.
the
Yeah.
pull of the big round number.
Mhm.
I
I
can't
get you.
resist it. Yeah.
Same.
Anyways, there's actually some really interesting stuff that came out of the convention they had a reunion convention this weekend
I
in
saw
Chicago.
pictures of that somewhere. I don't know if one of my friends went
If
or
I
if
hadn't
it was
have
just convention
taken
pictures.
if I hadn't have just taken my big trip,
Mhm.
I would have gone.
Yeah.
100%. And they Katie Sackhoff already surprise announced they're doing it again next year.
Oh, good.
So maybe we make a point of it next year. We have
That
to talk
would be
about
cool.
STLV.
That would be cool.
I mean, I know I said this in the Discord, I think, earlier today when Vic was trying to be like, hey, want to do Star Trek Fort Worth or whatever instead? STFW.
Alice, but yeah.
And I was just like, the worst part of STLB is being in Vegas.
It's a bit much, yeah. You need a
Uh,
certain night's limit on
yeah,
Vegas.
we have that group chat that we used to organize this last trip. I
Mhm,
need to post in there and be all like, "Hey, do we wanna do a different Star Trek con and just have the big group go to a different city?" But
Be fun.
anyways, they had the thing for Battlestar Galactica this weekend, and there was some interesting stuff Ron Moore said about the finale,
Oh.
about some regrets that Ron Moore has about the finale.
Oh my. Okay.
Um,
Did I tell you about almost running into him at Trek sorry, at Star Trek Las Vegas?
like, physically running into him, like
Yeah,
that
'cause
time John Delancey
remember
shouldered me?
that narrow hallway? Because
Yeah,
they had, like, things blocked off?
yeah,
Like, Aaron and I were coming this way, Ronald D. Moore is going that way,
mhm,
and he's not a tall man.
yeah.
I mean, I'm
That's
not saying anything about that, I was just like, "Huh, wow,
I was
okay."
surprised when I ran into Adam Cole at what a short king he was. He's a professional wrestler whose build is
Oh,
6
okay.
foot, and he's, like, maybe 5'4",
Not 6 foot?
maybe 5'4".
I mean, we
Good for
stand a
him.
short king, obviously,
So,
around here.
alright, Battlestar. I actually have had it up in front of me for about 3 minutes now,
Oh, okay.
but I have the new podcast artwork
Oh,
that you
yes, yes.
sent over to me,
Uh-huh.
um, a week ago when we were recording the last episode. It's superb.
Yeah.
The lettering is great. I love the little dip in the R. I
Uh-huh.
love that it's, like, kind of, like, it moves around a bit. The depictions of us are excellent. We're both
Mhm.
dwarves for some reason. Uh,
That's just their style
yeah,
as an
but I
artist,
dig
but
it,
yeah.
pun intended. Um, no, I love it. Um, I love it a lot.
Yeah. The artist decided to pose us a little more familiar with one another, and I
Yeah,
was like, "Well, that's perfect because we are now a little more familiar with one another."
it's true. We're not changing the name or anything. We're still gonna be Who Are You? It kinda works for or for Battlestar Galactica. It's not a thing like it is in Babylon 5,
Mhm.
but there is a bit of mystery around the individual, which I'm not have you seen anything?
The I know okay. I will give you what I know of
Okay.
Battlestar Galactica. Cylons, bad.
Mhm. Yes.
Cylons, robots, and could be anyone at any time.
Yes. Okay.
Robots.
That's the thing,
Okay.
is who the Cylons are is, like, dispersed among the populace is a
Mhm.
huge mystery that's led on in the very first episodes. In the mini series, you find out someone's a Cylon. They're just like,
Okay.
"Whoa!" So it's a thing throughout the entire show.
Yeah, and I guess Cylons want to exterminate humans, yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna just confirm for the audience right now, I've seen all of it. I know
Uh-huh.
who all of the Cylons are, whether they're one of the normal models or one of the final 5, which is a
Mm.
whole other thing
Oh,
that
boy.
you'll learn about. Um, I remember all of it. I remember every single one right now thinking about it. If I say something otherwise on the pod, then I was having a lapse in memory because right now I can name and visualize them all. So I will not be spoiling any of it.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have me to talk to, so
Yes. I will really, really want to, but I will ask out of the novelty of it that we don't talk about it in the Discord.
Okay.
Any is someone is silent or not. Of everything to spoil, I think that is the biggest. So I'm going to ask our listenership and our friends in the Discord to not ruin that for you
It's a
and let
no
you get
Cylon zone.
no silent zone, the Discord. Um, I will archive some of the B5 channels. They'll still be active. But we'll move on to, uh, like, I'm going to get rid of B5 Spoiler Town and it will just be B5 chat or something. I don't know.
Mhm.
But there will be a current with the pod Battlestar Galactica channel. There will be a spoiler Battlestar Galactica channel.
And
And
I'm not allowed there.
if I can figure out how to do it,
Keep
I will
me out.
ban you from it.
I've
I'm
been
gonna
banned on the Discord.
I might have to like take away your system admin on the Discord and just give you everything individually and not the role.
I mean,
So that you
I've never
can't see the
used the
channel.
system admin powers anyway.
So, so I'm gonna try and figure that out.
Okay.
And have a channel that you just don't even have access. You just won't even see it.
Okay. That'll be fun.
Aaron's
Like a
seen it all though,
mystery.
right?
Yes, he has seen it all.
Okay, cool. I'll keep him in everything then.
Yeah, he can stay a system admin.
So yeah, we got this show coming up. We're gonna do the miniseries in 2 eps. We're gonna continue with movie breaks. We're gonna continue with breaks in between seasons. We're gonna do the webisodes, and I've already got them, like the Razor flashbacks and all that stuff. I've got all that planned in the viewing order.
Okay.
We're gonna do Caprica. We're gonna do the plan. We're gonna do Blood and Chrome. I've got season recaps as part of the plan right now as well.
Okay.
I might remove those, and we might just do a series recap. We'll see. And that's going to take us through until March of 2027.
Holy shit.
We will have 200, is currently planned 262 episodes of podcast recorded. So Battlestar
Wow.
Galactica is going to be just over 100 episodes, 112 right now.
Okay.
If we remove the season breaks or the season recaps, then I'm taking out another 5. That's the plan forward. We're taking a couple weeks off.
Yeah. I think we've earned a couple of weeks of breathing space.
Yeah. I mean, I just had a vacation and you just had a break from recording. I don't know how much of an actual break from recording we're going to take. We'll talk about that off pod.
Right.
We're going to have a break in the release schedule though. Our plan is to be back sometime in December. This airs November 13th.
Yeah. God, it's all going so fast.
So they're in a couple weeks, and then we'll be back. You know, we have an episode come out on Christmas Day. Christmas is a Wednesday this year.
That's weird. I mean, somebody's going to need that to listen to in the bathroom while they avoid their family, right?
Oh, you know what? We will we'll aim for the 11th, December 11th, because then we'll do the 2 miniseries episodes, and then that will make 33, which is the first episode of the normal show, and Ben will be guesting with us that episode.
Oh, yay.
That one will come out on Christmas. And to be perfectly honest, 33 is like the best episode of the show.
Oh, okay.
It's so fucking good. I have not seen Battlestar Galactica since it originally aired.
Oh, wow.
And I still think that is, like, just thinking back on it, that's the best episode of the show.
Wow. It peaks early.
It's really good for a long time, actually.
Okay.
But I remember really liking the episode. That will be that's our Christmas present, is an episode about undying, unyielding stress. That's our gift to everyone on Christmas.
Oh boy. And Ben's lovely voice. Yeah.
And Ben's dulcet tones will grace the pod again on Christmas Day, which is extra funny because he's actually Santa in a community theater production of Elf.
Yeah, I feel like he's
and Glow is Mrs. Claus.
Yeah. Oh,
it's so
cute.
perfect.
They're so cute. God dang
it. All right. Well, I guess that's it.
I guess this is it. Bye-bye, Babylon 5.
Bye, Babylon 5.
How we loved you.
Jeremy Siegel, we've played your music for 150 episodes. And God willing, we'll play another tune by you for 112 more.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for composing our theme music. Really appreciate it. You can find more of Jeremy's work at jeremysiegel42.bandcamp.com, and on streaming services is Nuclear Jaguar.
And thank you, Angry Duck Time Machine, on Instagram for our podcast artwork and our new podcast artwork.
It's so good.
They're both beautiful. We love them very much.
We'll put that out sometime in the break in the Discord. I'll leave it up to you. If you want to post it right now, go for it. If you want to
Oh,
post it when this episode comes out, go for it. I don't,
yeah.
whatever.
Let's
It's your call.
give it some time. Okay.
Yeah. Aaron, again, thank you. I was just everything I said earlier in this episode. You know, you heard it.
Yeah. Thanks. I was very touched by your email.
Yeah.
And thank you, listener, for being here for 150 episodes of various coverage, mostly Babylon 5.
Yeah. We did it.
We did it.
Discord, join the community.
Yes,
See
please.
the podcast artwork early.
If you join the
Yeah.
community and we ever meet someday, you're going to be my best friend automatically. So,
Yeah, get a big old hug.
you know you want that, right?
Leave a 5-star rating.
Yeah.
Wherever you watch your podcast or listen to your podcasts. We are on YouTube. We've been on YouTube for a bit. We have a number of people that only listen on YouTube now.
Wild. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and we'll see you in a few weeks, listener. I hope that the next time I'm talking to you, I still have hope in my voice.
Same. Big same. But I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
Battlestar Galactica, here we come.
I wish I could give you a big hug right now.
Oh, me too. I'm just
Yeah,
going to
virtual
hug my
hug.
monitor.